Hello everyone. In this video we will be discussing the business message portfolio assignment. So let's just jump right in. I want to point out some things that I just wanted to elaborate upon, which are in a little more detail than what's on the assignment sheet, and then that way you can get some clarity, and if you have any questions, you can, after watching this and reading the assignment sheet, then you address them then. So let's take a look. Okay, so all right, so we've got the message portfolio assignment sheet here. It's due October 8th, so you have plenty of time to work on it. As you can see, this is basically a way to put into practice all the things and the information and the points that are covered in Chapter 8, 9, and 10. So you're basically going to respond to 3 different prompts out of the back of each one of those chapters. And these prompts, of course, are much more involved than maybe some of the some simpler ones that we've looked at or haven't even covered yet in this class. So for planning purposes for you, make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to do this. I'm going to keep harping on that throughout this video. So again, we're going to practice in a variety of situations. So both we've got good news and neutral messages, we've got bad news messages, and then we've got persuasive messages and proposals. So chapters 8, 9, and 10, and then each one we're going to practice a different delivery format, so that would be memo, letter, and emails. Okay, so let's look at number 1. The first message is a memo. Okay, so we're going to format that as a memo, which we've already done in this class. And it is in response to a problem-solving case, so number 41 on page 260. So if we go to our textbook, you can type in the page number, right, when you're just in the self-study mode on Connect, and that'll bring the page number up, and we'll scroll down, and we've got number 41 right here. Okay, so it says you are the human resources manager for a public relations company. So if this is your first business class, or even if it's not, right, the whole point here is to put yourself into this scenario as best you can. Imagine yourself in this scenario. How would you approach it if you were really doing this in real life? And that's kind of the mindset I want. So we've got that mindset to start, and then of course we want to demonstrate that we understand the concepts that this chapter is teaching you. Okay, so here it's an internal operational message, right? So what you're going to do, if you read this, and I'll let you read this obviously on your own, but you want to make sure that each one of these messages for the portfolio assignment, you include all the little minute details as part of the grade. Okay, so when you have things that say, for example, workshops are held on site, most are only an hour or so, held once a month during the workday, you have to have that information in here. So if you read this prompt, right, you are the HR manager for this company. It's a large company, lots of different departments, lots of employees. Okay, so what you decide to do is to try to implement a professional development workshop program. Okay, so some of you watching this video have had to do this for work. Some of you have never heard of professional development workshops, right? So basically it's when they bring a company will bring in an expert, and then the person will share his or her knowledge on a particular topic. Okay, and so it can be real general stuff, like communication and leadership and that kind of thing, or it could be very specific to, let's say the accounting department or the IT department or the communications department or whatever it might be. So first step is you have to make sure that you understand what these things are. So Google professional development programs, you can look up things online. I'm going to put a link underneath this assignment sheet, and that's for the CEPD. So that's the Center for Executive and Professional Development that the Spear School of Business has. So what the Spear School does is that faculty and heads of departments will put on professional development workshops for companies located in Oklahoma and the surrounding area. And they do a very, very good job of this, in fact, much better than a lot of other schools. I would encourage you to go look at other universities, within the Big 12 or, Ivy League. Just go to their business departments and look and see what kind of professional development programs they have. Why? Because if you read this prompt, it says you have to come up with a schedule of 6 professional development workshops, right? One a month for 6 months. And I'm not expecting you to make it up. So what I want you to do is to find ones that sound interesting. Because for those of you that have to do this before in real life, right, you're kind of up against, you're working uphill, because these things get a bad rap, and sometimes for good reason, sometimes not. So you got to keep that in mind when you have the mindset here, is that you don't want to just pick the first 6 that you find online. So I want you to start with the CEPD site. You can go here, you can scroll down to professional development seminars. as you can see, any of these right here would work. So if I click on one of these, this is the management and leadership program that they have, you'll see these blurbs for the workshops. Okay, and these are all taught by Spears faculty like Dr. Manzer and Dr. Urich. So you'll see there's the title of the presentation, who's giving it, and then of course a little blurb. All right, so that's, you can totally just, if you find one of these that seems interesting to you that you think would work, you can totally just copy and paste it onto your memo. Okay, we're not even going to worry about citing it, which some people's heads will explode at that, but it's okay. All right, I will know where it comes from because when you submit it to D2L, it highlights that stuff and tells me. But again, the biggest thing is how we present this, how we format it, and then the original content that you're going to write. So keep that in mind. Okay. So 6 total workshops. You know, 1 or 2 can come from the CEPD side. I would really prefer if you find a variety of sources, here. Okay. So again, look at other universities' business departments. Google just professional development workshops in general. You'll see. Okay. And so this is what we kind of want to put together for the memo. All right. For business message number 2, it is a negative announcement. It is in the format of a formal business letter, as you can see here. And this is from Chapter 9. Okay, so we skip ahead to Chapter 9. And let's see, what page were we on here? We're going to be on page 289. All right, so you can just type that in there. It will take you to the end part of the assignment here, or of this chapter, and you'll have to scroll down quite a bit. And it's the first one here. So number 18, changing the rules for professional development. We're on the professional development kick here. So here, this is a negative announcement, which is hands down the hardest thing to do correctly. So very, very important that you watch the lecture video and do all the activities related to Chapter 9. Okay, bad news messages are definitely the hardest. Those of you that have had to do it professionally, you know it's the hardest one to write and then still be able to maintain some form of goodwill. So in this scenario, if you read this, you are the budget director for a large medical technology company. You have to let your 20 senior management staff know that you are taking away one of their perks and fringe benefits, kind of a thing that they kind of see as a right. Obviously, this is because of financial reasons, right? Business has been slow, etc. So you have to craft a formal business letter where you demonstrate to me that you understand the concepts of how to deliver a bad news message like this in the most effective way possible and still elicit goodwill. Okay. The other thing is you're going to have to use your powers of creativity and critical thinking, because it says here that you have to provide alternatives to them. So these alternatives that you come up with are going to be hard. It's going to be hard to think of, but you have to think it. I'm not expecting you to demonstrate that you know how to be an event planner or anything like that, but what I am, if you read this prompt very closely, I just want you to use your powers of critical thinking and demonstrate to me that you have those. Okay, so you know it goes without saying that when you come up with alternative solutions to try to ease the sting of taking away this awesome program from your senior managers, you have to realize that it can't cost a lot of money, right? Because the whole reason you are eliminating the program to begin with is because of financial reasons. So keep that in mind for the second message. And again, that's a formal business letter, and that's from Chapter 9. The third and final message that you're going to have to write for the portfolio assignment is a proposal. Some of you maybe have written proposals before, some have not. That's all covered in Chapter 10. This also is a persuasive message. So there's all kinds of elements that I want you to demonstrate to me that you understand there. If you go to page 365 in your textbook, like this, and then once it loads, we'll scroll down, and this one is down underneath the proposals, okay? And this is number 37. It says proposing a team building activity. So it says, due to budget cutbacks, the morale at your company has dropped to an all-time low. Employees are not excited about going to work, and it's beginning to show in productivity rates. As a whole, sales are down 9% from last quarter. You serve on the company's quality circle, which recently met to brainstorm ideas for improving morale. The group agreed that everyone needs a little more fun. Toward that end, they decided that the company should sponsor various team building activities. You volunteered to look into the options and come back to the committee with a proposal for the first of these activities. So those of you that have done team building activities, maybe you know something about this, right? Maybe you went and did a ropes course or a laser tag or whatever it is that your company had you do. If you don't know, then obviously you have to start with just a basic internet search of common team building activities in businesses and in corporate America. That's kind of what we're shooting for here. But use your own creativity, research, come up with a relatively inexpensive, fun activity. So this seems like a very short and loose prompt, but it's really not, because all the information you need, it says when you've got all the information you need, write up your ideas in a well-written, persuasive email proposal. So if you read this chapter, you're going to realize that in order to persuade somebody, you first have to start with all the facts and have it all laid out in a very easy to read format, right? So you have to figure out not only what are the common team building activities out there, which one would be a good idea, then you have to use your powers of critical thinking to deduce and generate, and creativity to come up with a budget, right? Because that's the biggest thing, that if sales are down, your boss is going to be most concerned with is how much this program is going to cost, right? What's the return going to be on the investment? So you have to have that in there, okay? So as always, with all of this material, please email me if you have any questions at all. And again, I will probably in the coming week or two try to post at least a few formatting examples if you have issues with that. So keep an eye on Brightspace. And again, good luck and get to work.